Good evening. I'm sad to, sad to witness today in the news the passing of an all-time great in boxing and, more importantly, an all-time great in sports, Smokin Joe Frazier. A man who was an icon in boxing, in sports, and just the world, and especially the city of Philadelphia. Period. I mean, Joe Frazier, is definitely one of those guys, who in some ways, gets recognition, but in other ways he doesn't get the proper respect that he really deserves. And I think a lot of times people like to, people will link Joe Frazier more so to not only his fights with Ali, especially the ones where he lost, but also the fights that he had with George Foreman, where he would go down and how Cosell would do the announcement, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. And oftentimes I think that that he's missed. Oftentimes if people are, a lot of times if you're not careful, he ends up getting misjudged by that, because I think people look at him in a different light of more so of his defeats and things like that, just the way he was beat, instead of his overall body work, what he brought to the table. See a guy like Frazier, had the determination, he had the heart, he had tremendous skill, tremendous defensive fighting skill. He had a great left hook, but just overall, just his body blows, just his body punches, period. People talk about Mike Tyson being the baddest man on the planet. Joe Frazier was the Mike Tyson of this time. Joe Frazier was the prototype to Mike Tyson. And in some ways, if not many ways, I think one-on-one in their prime, I would have to say Frazier. Even though I believe that that fight would have been a war, but in the end, I'm not just saying this because Frazier passed away. I still said this even when Frazier was alive, I would have to still say Smokin Joe, just because of his endurance. And he's one of those. And for some reason, the city of Philadelphia, especially, for some reason, they have a way of doing a misjustice to to their boxers, to their best boxers, people like Frazier and Bernard Hopkins. And just the fact that at first I didn't think about it until the idea, until it was the topic was brought up earlier. But it's, I have no idea why, how in the world, how in the world in Philadelphia they could build a statue of a fictional boxing character, played by Sylvester Stallone, a fictional boxing character. When they came to build a statue of the real, boxing icon, the real boxing hero, which is Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was the true icon, the true hero, boxing hero in Philadelphia. Not Rocky. That was just a fictional character anyway. Somebody that was. You might as well just say that was just a statue of Sylvester Stallone, instead of saying, instead of wasting all that time in the Rocky movie building a statue that you'll just, that somebody was just out of a movie. But but Joe Frazier was a real life hero, a real life warrior. He was a boxing king. This guy's been a Golden Glove boxing champion. He's fought his way, fought his way through like the Olympics and and things like that. He definitely fought scratch and clawed his way to the top. And to little notoriety. It's nowhere near the same type of fanfare that same type of fanfare that someone like Muhammad Ali had received. And so even during even the early part of Ali's prime when he was fighting guys like Sonny Liston and things like that. Up until the time he hit, that he refused to go into the service. Joe Frazier was in the background, working his way up. And so, so by 1970, Frazier's time, finally come, so the same, he was the undefeated undefeated heavyweight champion and stuff like that. But people were still, giving a lot of press time to Ali, which, and Frazier's, in Frazier's aspect, that was really unfair because Frazier was the one that was still in the ring, not Ali, at least yet. And so, so of course, 71, they had the fight of the century, which, along with Thriller and Manila, might as well, be considered the best fight that both of them had, at least in my opinion, that is, and so, that was round one, and they had a classic. It was Madison Square Garden. Frazier was the first one, and so, they ended up fighting again in Madison Square Garden. Ali wins. And then Thriller and Miller later on, both of them passed their prime. But the thing is, from 70 to 73, or at least to 74 or whatever, Frazier did not miss a beat. Joe Frazier could not miss a beat at all. He was constantly in that heavyweight title contention from 70 when he first became the champ. Then then he proved how great he really was. The first time he fought out in 71 when he beat him. Then he would have multiple title defenses against people like Jerry Quarry, or Ken Norton, whoever, people like that. Then ultimately, he would end up running with George Foreman, at least by 73, whatever. But during that time, at Frazier's peak as a heavyweight title contender, as a heavyweight champion. Like I said, that was definitely one of the best peak periods that that somebody could have. And it's amazing how a network like ESPN could do very little to show any type of respect or pay any type of tribute to Joe Frazier. On Sports Center they would have like little small snippets or small snippets of breaking news about Joe Frazier. Why not use that whole hour in itself anyway to pay tribute to this man who broke ground and paved the way for your Mike Tysons, for Evander Holyfield and all these other guys and Bernard Hopkins, what have you. If it wasn't for him, these guys would not be the stars that they eventually became. And honestly, and really it's bad enough that the sport of boxing has a black eye, because of the bad, because of the way Pacquiao and Mayweather, have left such a bad taste in so many people's mouths, myself included right now, because of the way they've been ducking each other. But back in Frazier and Ali's time, very few, really nobody ducked, as far as I know, nobody ducked anybody. If they did, you wouldn't really, you wouldn't hear about it. Nowhere near as much as these guys are. Really, this is just, it's bad enough that boxing has been going down the toilet lately, but this, this right here, it's just, I just don't know what to describe. ESPN just did this man a total injustice, by giving him what 2 or 3 minutes on there or something, just to talk about how he passed away. But yet they could send a reporter, someone like Rachel Nichols, over to Brett Favre's house, send her over to Brett Favre's house, Brett Favre's house, to see if he's gonna come out, and play for the next season or something like that, But yet you won't even take the time, take the time to send a reporter over to the hospital, over to hospice care where Joe Frazier was anyway. At least send someone like, at least do an outside the lines report, or I mean, something, send one, I mean, the most, at least the least of the most that ESPN could have done was send somebody out there. If you could take the time out to send a reporter out and do a cover story on a football player who's still alive and well, just to find out if they're gonna make a career move. But yet you won't even take the time to visit someone who's a legend, who's on their dying bed, who's clearly taking their very last breaths, at that point. Who's on someone who's on the brink of death. You mean to tell me that you can take all that time to go out and visit somebody, just to find out about a decision, about their career. But yet you won't even care for someone who is losing their life, a sports hero who's losing the battle for their life. Man. When I found that out, ESPN's lost even more. Lost more respect from me, lost more points from me from that. That's sad. That's sad. I still can't get over that right now. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I still can't get over that. If you visit somebody who's acting like a diva, and just waiting outside their house to find out just what the next move of their career is going to be, and they still have life, but yet you can't show any respect to a guy who I believe is a much bigger icon, and legend than far could ever think about being, who's on the brink of death, and now he's passed on, and man, I mean to take up so much time, but I'm just being genuine, and see this is the same year that we lost Macho Man Randy Savage. 6 months ago, this past May, the sports world lost Macho Man, but WWE did a huge. WWE did this man a huge injustice, just like ESPN did with Joe Frazier. They did this man a huge injustice by giving him a little 2 or 3 minute tribute when the show itself should have been 2 to 3 hours dedicated to him, because of the impact and the legacy and the mark that he's set on that business, in the world of sports, in the world of pop culture, period. His match, not just his gimmick and just personality, but also the quality, the work that he put in, inside the ring. The quality of matches that Savage had. But yet, you won't even put him in the Hall of Fame. Yet you won't even put him in your latest game. Really? Then it wasn't until not long before he died, that you finally decided to put him in, that little arcade WWE All Stars thing or game, whatever you want to call it. First it looked, I don't mean to get off topic, but my point is that as of lately, Frazier and Savage, two guys who passed on now, were done great injustices, big injustices, by the sporting industry, by ESPN, by things like ESPN, and especially WWE, You know, and my thing is, give a person their flowers while they're still living, not while they're, not while their body's cold and there's no more blood, running through their veins, and they're lying in the casket, facing up. My thing is, show love and appreciation to a person while they're still living, and I believe, more people should have done that to Smokin Joe Frazier while he was still alive. So that's, those are my thoughts, and I'm gonna stick to them. Rest in peace, Smokin Joe Frazier.